probably don't have to, do you?
No, I don't use it, but I'm thinking about getting set up to do on my page what you're doing during the week.
Oh, okay. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, it's been a good
schedule because my producer has 21 other clients. So I've got a dedicated time slot every week, and there's other things that I want to do. So, yeah, I'm looking into StreamYard very soon. Yes.
Very good. Yeah, I recommend them. I haven't had much problems. I mean, they're always adding pretty cool features. They actually do now, if you keep an interview or podcast or whatever under 2 hours, I guess AI will like clip segments of it. Mm-hmm. So like a 30, 40 second segment and title it for you. That's pretty handy.
Well, I use Opus Clips. You can probably take the file from StreamYard, upload it to Opus Clips, and it'll clip out the whole thing and you can set it to 30 second to 1 minute clips, 1 minute and 1 minute to 1 minute and 30 seconds, however the length of clips that you want. And it'll clip them out for like 30 clips. And then it grades them. Like from best to like AI kind of does it, and from like a score of 99, depending on what the type of engagement it would be, all the way down to like 79 or something like that. And so you should really look into Opus Clips. I use it every day. That's how I do my clips. Yeah.
Okay. You got a link? Send it to me after we're done.
Actually, I was going to get you to send me this file on Google Drive so that I could clip it out.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that after the she knocks, so I know we're live now. But after we're done and it downloads and all that stuff, it clips out, everything, and then I'll be able to send the file to you, so you'll have it directly.
Okay, sounds good.
And then for now, it's going to be live on God-Based Recovery, my YouTube page. I think you're able to share it out to 2 places that you want to. But we're live, man, and it's been a long time coming, John. I've been after this one with you for quite a while.
Man, I'm sorry. I've been so busy. Dude, so much has happened in the past few months. It's hard it's really hard. It's been a crazy schedule. It's just been crazy.
I mean, I guess that should be one of my questions: is how you balance it all, and how do you, have just downtime, man? I mean, got to be able to relax and goof off once in a while, stuff like that. But
yeah, well, I'm kind of learning as I go. I've never been in charge of anything. Because of my past. I've never been a. Hang on a second. I'm gonna share the feed.
Absolutely.
Let's see. I'm on God-Based Recovery, and so it says Deborah Robbins Ingram.
Yeah, that's the wife. My wife. The wife.
Okay, from here I can't share it. It just says send content away.
She's got it on her page. I mean, because GBR is private, so that's why she has to share it to like her page. It should be on mine too. Trav Ingram.
I need to go to Trav Ingram. Okay.
Yeah, that or Deb, and then you can share it from there to share it out to wherever you want.
Okay.
Bless you. Dude, I wouldn't be able to pull none of this stuff off if she wasn't so supportive and helpful as she is. I mean, she's really
brought that up because you just asked me that question. How do I balance it? So the first year and a half or so, the first year of it, I was doing everything on my own. All the, aside from what Danny did, my producer, I was doing pretty much everything. And God has strategically brought people into the mix and into the fold so that I can delegate these things as far as fundraising and scheduling, all this other stuff. So God has provided the people to really help with that.
Man, doesn't he ever? We started doing these like Zoom recovery meetings. I mean, I call them Discovery Fellowship because we're really just discovering who we are, man, beyond the addiction and trauma in the past and all that stuff. And we got like 4 or 5, maybe 6 people that are, family members of the group that share for us with different topics every night. And I just love those meetings. They're so influential and inspirational to me. I don't even do like in-person meetings anymore. However, if people out there's got good in-person recovery meetings, AA, NA, and they're helping you out and they're keeping you clean and sober for another 24 hours, by all means, go to them. It's just, I got to the point.
You do those online meetings?
Huh?
How often do you do these online meetings?
Every night but Friday. And then Wednesday night we do a Bible study with Blake from Trapped in the Addict. And we do that for an hour. Then we have an after study meeting 6 p.m. Central. Man, they go for almost 2 hours sometimes, but people hang around, and man, they're just, it's like real time therapy. It's just people pouring out and being trust, they trust other people, and it's really respected. And I see healing happening in real time, and they're really incredible. And they exceeded any expectations that I had going into them. But everything's allowed to be talked about. I mean, there's people that are really, really, pro AA, and like I said, that's fine, man, because each person's going to have their own God moment, man. And any way you recover, I always say, spoiler alert, but any way anybody's recovering is really God afforded, whether they know it or not, or admit it or not. Higher power, I get all that stuff, man. But yeah, we've been doing them since like last Christmas or Thanksgiving, and I mean they help me out every single day. I love them, and I'm blessed to have all the brothers and sisters that I've gained over this just 18 months, John. 19 months ago, no, man, I wasn't wasn't in a good spot, brother. But
well, that's awesome, dude. Send me. I'll try to remember if you can send me like day of. If you'll send me a link or something, I can share it on my page and invite people to join y'all if they choose to.
Oh man, yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'd make little event things for them, post every day. She puts up a post, and we share them out as much as possible, just to even get the word out there. So, but I mean, yeah, they're incredible. Wednesday nights are really awesome. Blake does such a great job going through the book of Matthew, and just blessed to meet people like this, man. I didn't know none of y'all existed when I was just living in my own little world a couple years ago. So
yeah, Blake is absolutely one of my favorite humans, for sure. He's definitely one of my favorite creations that God ever put on this earth. I love it.
I hope that gets clipped. We'll send it to him.
He'll see it. We do the best we can to keep up with each other, and God has put us together to do big and big things, and I can't wait to see what that entails for Black Sheep and Trapped Addict.
Yeah, man. I mean, he's just, I mean, he's busy too all the time. I mean, he stays busy. So, I mean, you guys have any moments to talk or text each other is probably a miracle to catch each other in a not busy moment. But exactly. Man, I don't want to waste any more of your time on that. This is John Gallagher, everybody, from Black Sheep Recovery Warfare podcast. He's got a Facebook page, doing great things. It was on the news yesterday. I saw in your hometown. Was that Jackson?
Jackson, Mississippi. Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Very cool, man. And what John does is he has people come on and share their testimonies with him. And do you do it? Is that your sister that I see in the video sometimes? There's always a blonde or a female.
That's my co-host, Dr. Monica Weber, which is really cool because the way God lined that up, because what Dr. Monica Weber brings to the table is so I've got the experience from living that lifestyle in darkness for over 30 years. Well, she grew up in a situation where she was surrounded by darkness, but she was never a drug addict or anything like that. She saw early on that she was never going to go that route, and so she didn't. God protected her and all of that. And so she's a board certified therapist. So you have to check her out. She's got a list this long of all of her accomplishments and all of her titles and all that stuff. She does so much, and she's so brilliant. So she comes to the Black Sheep with a very warm, tender approach to it, and with that therapist mind. She's got the kind of the tender side of it, and the brain, and then and also the looks, obviously. I just come with the experience from darkness. So yeah,
that offers like a really unique balance to it all too. Then
for sure, yeah.
Wow. Appreciate you doing this, John. Like I said, everybody, I'm persistent, man. I don't give up. I'll be asking. If there's certain people that God puts in my heart to like do these testimonies with, I just keep after it. I'll let a couple weeks or a month go by, but I'm like, hey, what's up? How you been? We're ready to do that on the spot.
I'll tell you something real quick while I'm thinking about it. So something that I've learned since I started this is to be obedient to God's voice, obviously, but everything works out better on God's perfect timing, right?
100% agree with you.
Yeah. So when it's laid on my heart to do something, I'll do it, but it's always going to be on God's perfect time. I don't try to rush it or anything. And so, for this to be postponed a couple of times that it has been, it's God's will. It's not that I was, trying not to do it, you know what I'm saying, or dodging or anything like that. It's just that it just wasn't the right timing, and I knew that, and so I just wanted to wait on the perfect time. And the same thing happens when I'm choosing. I say but the Lord always is the one that really puts my guests on the couch in the studio. So anytime that I've ever tried to push for a guest to, and schedule or whatever, it never really works out. But it's always God's perfect timing on who He chooses to be on the show, and how He orders my steps daily. I know, it's really hard for me to, my calendar, it's like He makes my calendar and things like that. So when you reached out last week, and I looked ahead, and I was like, let's go time, let's do it. So yeah. And we've just had so much happen in the last month or so that it's just been hard to focus in on anything else. So you caught me at the perfect time last week when you shot the message. So good job.
I kind of felt that nudge, because we talk sparingly, and you're so busy, so I was like, hit John up. And so when I get those thoughts, that I wasn't thinking to do that, so I'm like, all right, I just feel like I'm being obedient, and you responded, and you're like, boom, okay, there it is. So it's been a long time coming. I'm very grateful to do this. The summer's just starting, so I know you're going to be busy all this summer and have been already. Start off by telling everybody your sober date, John, if you would.
Okay, so my sober date is March 11th, 2021. Mm-hmm. That was the day, not only that everything was taken, all the drugs, and I found freedom from that, but I also was the day that I came to Christ, full on surrender. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that you said that. I'll just add this right quick and get into the questions. I've had a bunch of sober dates through the years, but I've only got one surrender date, and in 11, 14, and 23, I knew I was done, John. I exhausted my will. I'm like, if I do this the same way I've always done it, it's going to happen again someday. I just knew it. I was being real with myself. And I feel and believe I surrendered my will and my life over to God. I'm like, I'll try to walk this walk as best I can, be obedient, learn what that means. So, without my surrender date, I can't sit here and tell you I would have a guaranteed sober date. So, and got a couple more years than me, but still relatively both new to this, but I just know God's got me.
When I tell you, I know that I'm very early in my walk. I know that I'm very early in my sobriety. I still consider myself a baby that's, being fed. So, and, but yeah, God is using us both in a huge way. And I'm grateful for that. Yes.
Same side. I echo that statement.
If you think about it, so when it happened for Paul, when the scales came off his eyes, it wasn't, he was commanded to go and make disciples, go and preach the word right now. It wasn't, I have to learn this and I have to go to school. It wasn't none of that. It was go now.
He didn't have to go get certified anywhere. I
exactly. Yeah. Right.
He did, man.
Yeah, he didn't have to go to 8 years of seminary or anything like that.
Which there's nothing wrong with that. But
you go out in the streets and you tell your testimony now.
Yeah,
tell them what it did for you. Yeah.
Sure. And speaking of, I'm going to hit you with these questions. Tell us how you grew up, not just the bad times. I'm sure there were some good memories too. There had to be. Sure. Looking back.
Yeah, I grew up in a wonderful family. I had a family of 5: my mother, my father, my older sister, my younger sister, my cousins, my uncles, my aunts. All I had a great childhood. I had pretty much middle class. Played t-ball, baseball, did all the things a regular child rode our bikes all over the place with my friends. And, some days we, fought each other, and it was just pretty much normal childhood, have millions of great memories. It would take us all day to go through them all, but with that, but it wasn't perfect. Me and my father didn't have the greatest relationship ever. With me growing up, I was very rebellious. He was gone all the time. He was a professional fisherman. He had a hunting and television show. So I mean, he traveled a lot. On the bass tour and all that other stuff. And so he wasn't around. And when he wasn't around, I did pretty much whatever I wanted. And then when he was home, though, he would find out about these things, and it got physical. He was very disciplined. He disciplined me, and sometimes it got a little a little extreme. But I loved my father. We just didn't have the greatest relationship growing up. But later on in life, in my adult years, we actually became best friends. We cooked together, watched NASCAR together, watched football together, and drank a lot together.
That all goes hand in hand, I believe.
Yeah.
He's still around today, or
No? We lost him. I don't really keep up with that, but it's been. I know it's been over. It's probably been 7-8 years, something like that, 9, to cancer. Couple years after that, lost my mother to cancer. So that was kind of a back-to-back thing. But my mother was, she was an amazing woman. She's the best mother ever. But and she was a praying mother. She prayed me out of a lot of things, I know. And I know that because that passed away, and those prayers stopped is when a lot of my big problems started, really. But I guess the issue with her was that I was the middle child. I was the only son, so I was, I was a mama's boy, and she let me get away with everything. And when I would get in trouble, I mean, she was kind of an enabler, which I don't hold that against her or anything. I take full accountability for all of my actions, everything I did. But she was, truth be told, she was a little bit of an enabler. But I loved my mother dearly, and still do. And one big kind of regret that if I had any, would be that they didn't get to see me get clean and sober. But I know that they're looking down. I know that they're proud of me. So, but yeah, I had a great childhood, man. I had a great family. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like hearing that. Yeah, I was an only child, so I was automatically a mama's boy.
Yeah.
Lost both my parents to cancer too. My mom in 2000 and my dad in 2006. So they were only 42 and 53.
Yeah, mine were young as well. Mine were pretty young too.
Yeah, I've had a lot of family members that died relatively earlier than they should have, so to speak. So I appreciate you sharing that. So paint this picture, if you would, for us, John. We're got to talk about the addiction years, man. The first time you used, if you can remember, you might not be able to. What all was happening that day, what your mindset was, and what ultimately drove you to make that choice to pick up for the first time.
I think it was peer pressure. It was there. It was just there, and it was with alcohol. The men in my family, grandfather, father, uncles, cousins, we all drank. So I started drinking at about 12 years old, and that was that was just normal. We all hung out with Papa. I worked with my uncle. My dad was gone all the time, but I didn't drink with my father until much later in life. I didn't even know he was an alcoholic until much later in life. But anyway, but that's it was just that's what I grew up in. So as far as drugs go, I was never much into marijuana. I didn't do much of that. I didn't like it. That just wasn't for me. But I would smoke it because it was there, so that wasn't really a problem for me. But with me, it was crystal meth. I think I was maybe 15, 16 years old. I was working with my uncle, and we were staying. He had a guy working for him, and I ended up staying at his house one night, and he gave me a line of meth, and I immediately loved it. I mean, I felt like I could take over the world. I felt like I could run circles. I mean, it was an amazing feeling. It was an amazing euphoric feeling for me, and I loved it. So that was the I remember and I don't want to get too graphic, but I remember laying on his couch and I could hear what was going on in his bedroom, and I remember thinking, I wish I had somebody here, I think you can kind of get what I'm talking about. I don't want to get too, I don't want to get too graphic, but that was the first time I did meth, and it was back in the 90s, and so it was a different type of meth than what they have now. So, and I think I was awake for 2 days off that one line, you know. So yeah, that was my first experience with methamphetamine, and it didn't. It's not like I started doing it every day after that. I mean, it was probably. I mean, it was several weeks later before I did it again. But yeah, that was my first experience with methamphetamine.
Was that ultimately your DOC, or did that progress or degress in a sense?
You know, that's always been my DOC, and there were a lot of other DOCs. Like if it was on the menu, and like the Coke, the Molly, the X, the pain pills, all of them. I mean, morphine, whatever you can think of aside from THC. I loved all of that. So if that's what was around, that's what I was doing at the time. And if you liked it, I loved it, and it was on. So, and there were gaps and periods in time in those 34 years or whatever that I was in addiction. That there would be these gaps of 6 months here, 8 months here, whatever. That I would dry up, that I would get clean for a while, and I'd get a little healthy, and I would think I was done. I was putting this behind me, but get me around the wrong people, and if it's there, I'm doing it.
Yeah. And I mean, it was so depending on what year it was, who you're around. I mean, uppers, downers, opiate, stimulus,
all of it. Yeah, everything except THC, and you got to also know that. And in those 30 whatever odd years, I was I lived all over the country. I mean, I lived as far as Seattle, Washington, down into Anaheim, California, Chico, California, Atlanta, Georgia, New Orleans, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Chicago. I mean, I've been everywhere, wherever, all these different places. I was doing all those different types of drugs, whatever was available.
Yeah. How long? I mean, as you got older and everything, what was the moment where you kind of thought that, like, man, I'm really getting dependent on this drug or that drug or the lifestyle, or when did the use start taking its negative effects on you?
Well, in all of that time, I don't think that ever really occurred to me that often. So like, and I lived different lifestyles in all these different places. Like I would conform to whatever was around me. So I mean, the only thing that I ever really admitted that I had a serious problem to was an alcohol. So I mean, I was a full blown alcoholic through all of that. That's the only one that I would honestly admit to that I've got a dependent problem on. And that went on for the whole time, the whole 30 years, pretty much. So yeah.
What was it's probably a this might be tough to answer, but I got worst moment in your addiction.
Worst moment.
If there's more than one, feel free. But
yeah, there's several. If I had to pick the worst moment, it would be my daughter actually literally seeing me shoot up in front of her. That would definitely be the worst, I think. Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
And man, that's a tough one. Like how that changed the relationship at all after that?
That changed everything with her. So like, I think she was probably 12 at the time, and I had her for the weekend. She was at the house over the weekend, and she was my little best friend. She was daddy's girl. She thought I hung the moon, and after that, she didn't. It wasn't right away that she said anything about it to anybody, but later on, as she was noticing me spiral, I had a fear that I was going to die. She she eventually told her mother about that incident. And so from that incident, her mother, let's see, she went to, I would say Child Protective Services or DHS or whatever. And I had a no contact order after that for several years. And she just did everything she could to keep her away from me to protect my daughter, So, I didn't think, I didn't know that I would ever have another relationship with my daughter ever again. But I can say that 2 years ago, about a year after I got out of prison, that's longer than 2 years ago. It's been 3.5 years ago, something like that. She eventually, I didn't know that she had eyes on me, keeping up with me, but she was. And she saw everything that was going on in my life and knew that I got clean. And she reached out, and now we are completely and fully restored.
Man, praise God.
Yeah.
Let me ask this: was that just like an accidental using it in front of her, or
No.
I mean, most people would try to hide it, go in the bathroom or something, wait till they go to bed, or
No, I did it. Just did it.
Wow. Okay.
I think in that moment, I was probably, I was at that time period in my life, I was losing my mind. I was in psychosis, and I don't know what. I mean, I can't honestly say what. Maybe maybe God allowed that to happen and to be seen, so that He could remove her from my life, so that He could, until I, because who knows, who knows.
Right. After that and everything, and the state got involved and all that. I mean, did your use? I mean, obviously, spiral more out of control.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I went deeper and deeper and deeper. Until we hit bottom. So I mean, and it was a long way down after that. Before I hit bottom, it was a couple of years. After that incident, before I finally hit bottom. And my bottom had a basement, and then at the basement it had a jackhammer so that I could go even deeper. So, but yeah, it gets very dark.
Yeah, I mean, so I've watched. This isn't the first time you give your testimony. I've watched a couple others that you shared with me, and skipping ahead to like the last couple years on the streets of Jasckson. That's there was a story involving this tree. Do you know what I'm talking about? If I bring that up,
yeah.
Do you want to share that? Because to me, it was, I won't say favorite part of your testimony, but to me, it was just so. It was a big moment. So I thought I'd ask if you just want to share that, and then maybe lead that up to your surrender.
Sure. Before the tree, I'd suffered several or survived several overdoses, countless. I don't know how many. Some of these overdoses had me out, for anywhere to 20 minutes, clinically dead before I was hit with Narcan, or over 20 minutes. There's only one way I could have survived all those overdoses, and that's divine intervention by God Himself. And some of them that I survived was my little sister pounding on my chest so hard that she broke my sternum. Now I can't put a number on how many overdoses, but I know that Amanda broke my sternum 3 times to save my life. And the third time, she had begged me to go to rehab. She was scared she was going to lose me. She was scared I was going to die. But this is kind of a catch-22 type thing, because I had the same fear for her, because she was also a heroin addict also. And she was also a fentanyl addict also. She was also a meth junkie also. But she had a better handle on it than I did. I didn't have the self-control and that she had, and I didn't do all the measuring. I wasn't careful. I just didn't care.
Now, was these overdoses mostly with meth, heroin, or what was it?
Every time that I OD'd, there was fentanyl or heroin in it, and especially, I mean, not so much heroin. I I never really, it was definitely fentanyl every time. Like, even if there was a small, very minute, whatever in the mix, I OD'd every time. But anyway, she had begged me to go to rehab, and I told her I would, but the only way that I would go is if she detoxed off of heroin and fentanyl. And she did. She agreed to it, and we detoxed ourselves. And I was still using meth. She was still using meth. But a few weeks go by, and the detox wasn't as bad for me as it was for her. It was awful for her. I thought she was going to die. I heard noises come out of her I'll never forget. And after it was over, I would say about 3 to 4 weeks after that, I went into Region 8 and went to the program. And going into the program, I wanted it. I wanted to be clean. I didn't want to die. I wanted to live. I wanted to change my life. And, we were able to make the first week or two, I think the first week you can't make any phone calls at all. But then the second week you get a phone call a week or something like that, or every 3 days or something. So we were in contact. But then we got to the 27th day, and I'd already had my secondary signed up. I was doing all the things. I was going to the meetings. I was loving it. I was clear-minded. I was eating good. And on the 27th day, they came and they pulled me out of class and let me know that my little sister had died from an overdose that morning. And when that happened, something inside of me broke, and I had no emotion. My reaction to it was, well, I was inviting, like all I knew was the darkness, and I was just like, that's where I'm going. I'm going back into the darkness. And I left rehab, and the person that picked me up had a needle ready to go. So before I got out of the parking lot of the rehab facility, I was already high. And that started the darkest period of my life. Like I want to say for 8 months after that, I was trap house, hotel, motel to motel, dumpster, just wherever. And I was wandering, I was just wandering Jackson, and homeless, no money, had nothing. I'd burned every bridge with everybody that was still alive that had ever, cared about me or had anything to do. No friends, nothing. And so I was alone in the world. I grew up a believer. I believed in God. I believed in Jesus, but I didn't want anything to do with him. Didn't want nothing to do with any of that. I had a like mind with a friend of mine. She just did an episode yesterday. She said she felt like that she was a puppeteer and that she was just put here for his amusement. And I felt the same way. I felt like he was a sick. If there was a God, he was just a sicko that got his jollies off on tormenting people. But at the time, I didn't realize it was Satan that was doing it. But anyway, in all this darkness, I get in this deep psychosis. I was talking to another friend last night about it. It's called like the Nebuchadnezzar effect. There's a period of time for Nebuchadnezzar where he is practically pretty much insane for 7 years, because he was idol worshiping. And, he was taking glory for all these works and this kingdom he had built. And he wasn't giving any glory to God. Well, God took his mind away from him. He was out in the fields eating grass and all these other things. Well, in a way, we don't know what happened to Nebuchadnezzar in those 7 years. We don't know what he saw or what he experienced. But after those 7 years were over with, he was a believer in God. So in this period of time, it's almost like you're completely out of your mind, but you start to see things. And I can remember in my darkness leading up to that, there was never any light. It was always darkness. But this time, God was shining light in that darkness. And I could share so many stories of all these encounters that I had in that period, but I didn't want nothing to do with it until I was really at the worst of it. And it seemed to me in my mind that there was a war going on over my soul. And it was light and dark. It was God and devil. I mean, but I thought that I was going insane is what it was. I thought I was just going crazy. And I was very suicidal and I wanted to die. I did not want to be here anymore. All of this was driving me insane. So I found this tree on my friend's property where I was staying at temporarily. And it was a big dead oak tree. And it had a hollowed out opening inside of it. And it was big enough I could crawl inside and I could literally stand up inside this tree. And it was in that tree. I made the decision that this is where it was going to happen. I was going to find me some fentanyl. I was going to do the biggest shot I could take. There's nobody around to call an ambulance. There's nobody around to pound on my chest. Amanda's not here to do it. I'm in the woods. There's no way I'll ever be found. Not that anybody would be looking for me anyway. But at the same time, I didn't want to be found later and word to get back to my daughter or whoever that, well, he killed himself or he died from a drug overdose inside of a tree or wherever. I just didn't want that to happen. So I crawled out of the tree. I made arrangements and we were on our way to go get it. A lot of things happened in between point A and point B right then. God was doing everything he could possibly do to distract me from doing that. And I knew it, and I was ignoring all of those distractions or all of, his signs and what he was doing to distract me, and continued on. One thing he did was he had put, there was this backpack in a store. My friend just stopped at a store, and I picked up the backpack and I thought it belonged to the young lady that was in front of me. I took it out to her, asked her if it belonged to her. She said no. And so I slung I'm a homeless dude. I'm used to always having a backpack. Wasn't even thinking about it. I got in the vehicle with the backpack and then we went on about our way. Where we were going was my ex's residence that was also in front of a storage unit that the landlord owned. And he was good enough to let me use a storage unit to keep what little belongings I had left. And there I was going to meet my guy, my plug. And also I was going to leave 2 letters, and one for my ex and one for my daughter. I'm leaving the state. I'm starting over. Y'all are better off with that. I mean, don't look for me, all those things. And we never got to that point, but so I got dropped off at the storage unit, and I'm getting into my storage unit, and within minutes I'm surrounded by several cops, and I'm thrown to the ground, knee in my back, not knowing what's going on. And I remember that they were screaming about this backpack. So at first I thought they thought I was breaking into the storage unit. So I'm screaming, "It's my storage unit," And but come to find out it was about the backpack, and I never even looked in the backpack. And it turns out inside the backpack was an iPad mini, and that was powered up, so it's not hard to find me. And a receipt printer for the Red Bull guy that was dropping off his load. And so they arrest me, and they got me in the car. They get me transported over to Richland, and I'm in this holding cell. And in the holding cell, I'm infuriated, more angry than I've ever been about anything in my life because I didn't want to live. I wanted to die. And for his amusement, he wanted to keep me here, torture me some more. Now I get to go to prison so he can torture me some more. And so I go to cursing God and cursing his son and all those things. And I think I was doing that out of hope that he would just take me out, heart attack, aneurysm, throw a bolt of lightning through all that concrete, anything. But that's not what he did. He showed up. He personally showed up in the cell himself. He came to me, and it wasn't out of his anger or anything like that. But the presence, man, the presence was so powerful. I'll never forget that feeling as long as I live. Like, it was so powerful that it's like I didn't consciously choose to get on my knees. It was like, dude, you're on your knees. It's like I didn't have a choice in that matter. It's like God is in the room. You're going to be on your knees. And So I'm hunched over, nose to the concrete, and I start just weeping in tears. And I feel a presence wrap around me like arms, like arms. And I knew what that was. I knew that Jesus was holding me. And I hadn't been held in a very long time. I hadn't felt. I was so numb all those years that I hadn't felt anything in a very long time. I hadn't felt a human touch of affection in a very long time. I hadn't felt anything in a very long time. But I knew what I was feeling right then in that moment was I was being held by Jesus, and I knew that it was Him, and I knew that I was not just feeling love, but I was feeling the love of Jesus, and it flooded all through my body, every cell, every atom, every molecule, and then it all hit my heart at one time. And when I tell you that there were the tears that had come out of my eyes and and my nose and my mouth, that it would have taken 2 towels and a mop to get all this up off the concrete. And you have to remember also that I was in complete psychosis for all of these months, and or I was completely crazy. I was that guy that you see on the side of the road that's screaming at a stop sign. That I was that guy. And in that moment, when it was over, I was completely healed, and I was of sound mind, and talking like a normal human being, like I'm talking to you right now. And then I don't know how long they kept me there. It wasn't very long, but they transported me to Rankin County Jail. But I knew something I didn't understand what had happened at the time, but I knew something very miraculous that happened. And I knew that I was healed. I knew that I was clean. As dirty as I looked, I knew that I was clean. I felt clean. You know what I'm saying? I felt clean. It was almost like God had used me like a sponge and just squeezed me and twisted me, and all that filth just came out of me. And so I ended up doing a year in prison after that. And well, I found out really quick that I didn't go through. Not only did the healing go with my mind, I didn't go through any detox. I didn't go through any sickness or anything like that. When it got me to the other holding cell in Rankin County Jail, I slept for 3 days. Where at the intake where they take you in. I slept for 3 days. When I woke up, I was on 3 mats, and I had a stack of trays next to me, that like 9 trays right there. I was so hungry. It was almost like it was like seeing color for the first time. And then when I was eating, it was like eating for the first time. And this is jail food too, so it was like eating steak and lobster, And I felt great, and then I ended up staying in Rankin County Jail for a while, and started developing my relationship with Jesus, alone with the Bible that Aubrey Pridgeon gave to me. Aubrey Pridgeon is the chaplain over at Rankin County Jail. We do ministry together now.
Very cool.
But yeah, that's the tree story right there. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Right quick. I mean, with everything you've been taking and everything, I mean, naturally you should have had bad withdrawals. You should have been sick for at least probably a week. I mean, all that stuff. So
I know what the sickness feels like, because I had been through the sickness. Because
right,
as a drug addict, you're eventually going to run out, and you're not going to have it on right away sometimes. So I know I had a fear of going through that sickness. Plus, I'd seen what my sister had gone through in those 2 weeks.
Sure.
And I did not want to go through that. And he had mercy on me, bro. He had mercy on me and delivered me from that and saved me from that. And I
while you were cursing him, I mean, you weren't asking him to come in and
no.
You were like,
I wasn't chasing after him. I wasn't looking for him. I wasn't talking to him. But I want your viewers to know that you are never too dirty for the one true King, and he is actively pursuing a relationship with you and chasing after you right now.
Man, He showed up in that cell, man, and chased that double off and embraced you, healed you up, give you a 3-day nap. And
the best sleep I ever had was on a jailhouse mattress, bro.
God bless that Red Bull delivery guy.
Yeah, for sure. He used him in a very mighty way.
I mean, he probably has no idea. He's probably out living somewhere, hopefully, but he has no idea how God used him that day at that specific time in that specific town.
Every time I see a Red Bull truck, I think about it. I'm going to talk to him and say, hey, did you ever get your iPad stolen?
Could you imagine running? I mean, because you didn't know who he was, but that would be incredible. That'd be almost too much to ask, but I mean, imagine shaking his hand. Because he just set that backpack down, man. And
oh, look, the cop that arrested me that day, he actually was, he was a longtime friend of mine. I used to work with his wife probably 15 or so years ago at O'Charlie. And when he was a rookie, and he literally kind of saw me progressively going downhill all those years. And we had a few run-ins leading up to that day, in about a few weeks space of time leading up to that. And God used him in a mighty way that day too, because I have spoke to him several times since I got out of prison, and we're friends. And I thanked him. I was like, you just don't know how God used you that day, and he does now. But yeah.
Have you ever been back to the tree?
Yes.
Yeah. Describe just right quick. Describe. I mean, more than once.
Yeah, I've been out there a couple of times. So, me and my friend Kosha went out there one time, and we took some video and took some pictures of it.
I'd love to see that. I mean, I'm nosy like that, but describe that first time you went. Like the first. I mean, I'm sure every time was like a powerful moment, but that first time you went back to it, and what made you go back to it?
I wanted to see it. I wanted to sit in front of it. I wanted to look at it. Something I did was this is something I really never talked about, but
there we go.
So, I was under some intense spiritual warfare, and I lost my sister, and I had I'd already I'd found the tree. I knew it was there, and I'd climbed in it a few times, and I had my father's ashes with me. I got them from the storage unit. And I don't think I'd consciously made up my mind that I was going to die in this tree, but I'd put the remainder of my father's ashes inside inside this tree in the base of it, like on the inside of it. Hold on. Somebody just tried to call, so it's on do not disturb. Okay, so I put my father's ashes inside this tree so I would know where he was at, and in case. I don't know why. I've gone back to it a few times, for that reason. I'd also placed a picture of my nephew and my sister in there. I'd buried it like in the bottom of the tree, inside the tree.
Wow. That's kind of like a living memorial. I mean, the tree's dead, but I mean,
actually, I've been back to that tree this recently in the springtime. It had some life left in it. It's got some life in it. It blooms like it. It's not completely dead.
If you ever do if you ever make some new shirts or something, man, for Black Sheep, it'd be awesome to get that tree on a shirt or something. I mean, it's such a big deal for you. I just think that'd be cool. I can't. I gotta see the tree. You gotta send me a picture or tell me where to go to find it, because that's just incredible. I had to ask that too.
Yeah, it's okay. I've never posted it. But my plans are for it. I've got a photographer friend of mine, Regina Pierce. Shout out Regina Pierce, Junior Pierce. Their family. They're my niece's mother and father-in-law. They've been a big part of my journey. We're going to go out to and take some. She's a photographer, and we're going to take some photos. I'm kind of working on a book here and there, and I'm not going to give away the title because I don't want anybody to take it from me because it's so good. But the cover of the book is literally going to be the tree. So, you know,
That's awesome.
like,
I can't help but to notice this painting of a tree behind you too. The whole time we're talking, just
yeah,
such a coincidence.
yeah. This, let me tell you the story of this, man. This, look, I've had so many. God has shown me so many. You know, I've asked God, you know, in my prayer, it's like, you know, show me, you know, some instances in my life where, you know, like God winks, you know, whatever, and He does. Like I was wandering, and this was long before the tree. I was wandering around Pearl, Mississippi. I had a dumpster diving addiction. I had a curb shopping addiction. Like if there was a pile of junk that somebody was throwing out, I'd stay all night buried up in there trying, just going through junk, man. Can you believe? I mean, I was wandering around Pearl, Mississippi, high out of my mind one night, and somebody threw that away. Isn't that? I mean, and then several months later, um, you know, the you know, the tree incident, and this stayed in my storage unit at my ex's that whole time because I, something about it I wanted to keep. But if you look, it's light and dark. You know, it's almost like yin and yang. You know, it's good and evil. Like you got dark on the side of light, and you got light on the side of the dark. And you know, what I mean, it's just it's a direct you know, just illustration of my life. You know, I mean, you can interpret it however you want. And then over here, you'll see Doodle Bob up there, or SpongeBob. He's right up there next to it. So people ask me about that one a lot. So, you know, but
I like that.
But let me tell you something. That means a lot to me too, because my little sister and I loved SpongeBob. And that was like one of our favorite episodes. And Amanda Massey and Donnie Massey, shout out to them. Their daughter Melanie, I think is her name. She had that hanging on her wall. I went over there to visit one night, and she saw how much I loved it. And I told her that, well, that was mine and my sister's favorite episode. She painted me one, gave it to me for my birthday. So, yeah.
Very nice of her. Yeah, I couldn't help but to notice that. It's a contrast and everything. Yeah, representative of your life. Yeah, I can see you coming across that and being like, I'm keeping this.
Oh, yeah, I'll keep it forever. You couldn't give me $1 million for that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that story. I forgot about the backpack. So when you mentioned that, I'm like, oh yeah, that's what was in there. But and then I mean that led into, you know, March 11th of 2021. I mean, after that moment in the jail cell, I mean, Jesus found you in a cell. That's literal. So people, oh, you found, yeah, jailhouse Jesus and all this. You're like, yeah, kind of literally.
Here's my, you know, a lot of people say that, when you're in jail, because I was in and out of Rankin County Jail for several years, you know, prior to, and that, you know, somebody would always have something to say about, oh, you got you some jailhouse religion or whatever, or jailhouse Jesus. Well, here's, you know, my answer to that is you need to get you some jailhouse Jesus. I mean, that's what you need. Yeah, for sure.
I just love that story. And I mean, clean and sober since that day, since you woke up from that 3-day slumber.
Yeah, I've never, you know, ever since then, I've never had a desire. You know, he completely removed the taste out of my mouth forever. Like I've literally been in situations where I've been around it, I've seen it, it's been in my face, and I've had no emotion toward it, no feeling, no chill bumps, nothing. Well, the only thing that's happened is there's been 2 instances where I've had to have blood drawn, and both times my brain tried to trick me into thinking I was high. Like, I mean, the needle went into my arm, and like my brain released all those chemicals that it releases when that happens, and it was pretty intense. But I was nowhere near a relapse or anything like that. But it's just that's what opiate addiction does to your brain. It takes a lot of time, I think, to rewire it. You know, so I mean that was that, and you know, then that just happened recently, months ago. So I mean, I still have this inside me where now when I go to even get blood drawn, I'm gonna have to take somebody with me because it was scary. But as far as you know, being around it, seeing it in front of me, I mean, I've literally had people roll a bowl right in front of me. I've literally held somebody's prescription in my hand, you know, and it didn't occur to me to just fill a couple of them. You know, God really, he really did a transformation in me.
I love it. I appreciate you sharing that big part of the story with me. But I got some more questions and moving
Yeah,
on from that, if you don't mind.
sure.
It could be a tough question. I mean, I'm sure you've had many. How many brothers and sisters have you lost to addiction? And right quick before you answer that, my condolences on asking if that was your sister that hosted with you earlier. I don't
So,
think I knew that she'd passed like that, so I really kind of felt like an
no, no,
idiot.
no, it's okay. And let me just tell you, my testimony and my story, I'm an open book. Um, what, as far as my sister goes, the enemy couldn't take me out, so he took out my sister. So what God did was Genesis 50:22 is like what the enemy meant for evil, God used it for the good, for his purpose. In the way I look at it is this. Yes, I lost my sister, and it's okay, because if not for that, then God wouldn't be using me in the way that he is now. And I know that my sister is in the arms of Jesus right now. She had a relationship with Jesus. She tried to lead me to Jesus, even when we were high. Because she got her some jailhouse Jesus. She was in prison for a little while, and she came out on fire for God. Unfortunately, she got around the wrong people, and even though she fell back into that lifestyle, she had a relationship with Jesus, and she knew Jesus. So it's okay. It's fine. It's quite all right.
No. Is it anybody that you're still close with or used to be close with, still out there that you hope have some kind of come to Christ surrender moment? I mean, some people that you might have to like love and pray for from afar.
Actually, well, yes, absolutely. One in particular, and this would be my older sister. She's actually, this is fixing to be a big part of my testimony soon. I didn't, when I got out of prison, I didn't know for sure if she was even still alive. She was in that lifestyle. Also, wasn't as close to her as I was Amanda. We just kind of split throughout those years. She went her way in her addictions, and me and Amanda went a different route. But Amanda and I were just closer. And April went a different route. So I love my older sister. We had a great childhood. She was she beat up the neighborhood bully over me one time. I mean, we had a relationship, but she just went down a different road. And so when I got out of prison, I didn't even know if she was still alive. I didn't know where I would find her. Last I'd heard, she was lost in South Jackson somewhere. And I would wander around South Jackson, looking for her. I would. I mean, nobody's seen her or anything like that. But anyway, so about a year after I got out of prison, I got a phone call from Regina, the photographer I was telling you about. And she is my older sister's daughter's mother-in-law. And from time to time, she would reach out to Regina, needing help. And at this point now, I've got these resources. I'm building these resources to get people treatment, men and women help, and things like that. So we didn't have much. Me and Regina and her husband Junior, we didn't have much. This was actually the first time I actually met Junior, and I didn't know Regina that well. They reached out and asked me if I had any resources, and I said absolutely. I didn't. And I would love to see my sister. Well, in my mind, I thought, well, obviously, she's going to see what's going on in my life, and she's going to want that. Boy, was I wrong. Man, was I wrong. So from that moment, okay, so we would try. Then this happened several times. We would set up. She would call. She would want help, and she would back out at the last minute. She would never go through with it. She wouldn't take that final step. She was in complete and total bondage. And I get it. But it really just nagged at me that she's literally seeing my life and how the transformation that's taking place in my life, and what I'm doing with my life now, and these blessings that rain down on me all the time, and how God is using me. And I thought that she would want that. And so a friend of mine, the same one I was telling you about coaching. She said something to me about that one time, about, I guess it was about a year ago. She was like, because she was going through the same thing with her daughter Kayla, and she said, you just have to give your sister over to God. There's nothing that you can do. Only God can do that. Only God did it in your heart, and only God's going to be able to do it in hers. And that stuck with me. So I just took my hands off of it, and I started praying for her all the time. And every time that I tried to set something up, it failed. Even though, but I didn't know if this was going to be the time or not. And she would call for help, and I would try to set it up, and this went on for a couple of years until recently. We're going through that same loop again. She's needing help, and we set it up, and she ends up leaving. Well, finally, she checked herself into somewhere. I didn't even know she had done that until one night I was at Celebrate Recovery in Byram. I got a text message from another friend that said, "Hey, I was chairing an AA meeting in Harbor House, and your sister's there." And I was like, "Since when?" She's been there about a month. I said, "Okay." And from there, it's been a roller coaster with her. She left there, went to another one, relapsed, went to another one, relapsed, went to another, and relapsed. But she's trying, So and she's got the spirit in her, because she's talking about God all the time. But it's a process. And so right now, currently, I picked her up from a rehab facility a few weeks ago. She had completed another 45-day treatment. I took her from there 4 hours away to another one that had sober living. But she was telling me all the way, "I'm not ready for sober living." I said, "Well, this is all we can do right now. Just trust the process, fight for your life, and be in prayer. I'm going to be praying for you," and all the things. So she wanted to go back in this other program that she had got kicked out of, and she really liked it. And the director said, "No, she is not allowed back in here." Well, God moved on that, and I got a phone call yesterday that that they called her, told her to pack her stuff, they're going to let her back in there. So when I say all that to say this, absolutely yes, pray for her. She's got a long road ahead of her of healing in her mind. I know how it happened for me. It doesn't happen for everybody, but she has a lot of mental things that she's having to deal with trauma. PTSD. She was a lot of things happened to her out in that darkness that I cannot speak on. So she's got a road ahead of her, like a lot of us do, a lot of us do. So, but yeah, that's the one. If I was to ask for anybody to pray for, it would be for April. Absolutely.
You love her a lot, huh?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it's not, she's my sister, but and I can speak on that too. God told me when I was in prison that if I trusted him, and that I was obedient, and that I had faith, and I kept my faith, and all the things that he would restore everything that the locust and the enemy stole from me. And I didn't understand it at the time. How are you going to restore my little sister to me? Well, he restored a lot of brothers and sisters to me, the biggest family I can imagine. I've got, and Andy's restored. The restoration process has started with my older sister. So, yeah, he's a God of restoration. And man, I can't even count all the blessings. I mean, I just can't. But
you got total faith that that's going to happen. I mean, you're staying obedient. You're taking care of yourself. You're letting God handle a lot of stuff that it's out of your hands.
Yeah.
So, man, she's got a heck of a testimony too to share one day.
She's going to be powerful. And so also, I'd like to ask prayers for Coach's daughter Kayla. She is rocket. She just came out of South Carolina that I came out of the same about 3 months ago, and she's rocking it, man. She just got her 90-day chip last night. Her mother was able to give it to her.
Wow.
And she's gonna have a powerful testimony too, man. So maybe one day we can get April on here at God-Based Recovery, and maybe one day get Caleb. It'd be great.
That'll be awesome, man. It'll be a blessing. We'll be praying for them, and I mean, I got a feeling God's got them too. In His timing and in their timing, they got a journey to go through. I mean, heck, me and you are both still pretty new to this whole thing. We don't got 30 years of sobriety to talk about, but
Right.
man, this faith that you have, and I love how it can trickle out and affect other people. You know, as long as we stay faithful to Christ, man. It's beyond explanation sometimes, and I think that's what faith really is. It's like I can't explain how these things happen, but God's real,
without a doubt.
Gosh, God bless them both. So let's talk about Black Sheep right quick. Black Sheep Recovery Warfare. How'd that start? Tell everybody about it and what it is, what you all do, where to find it.
So while I was in prison, I do say it's a lot. God's to me. Well, He does. You just got to know how to listen. And I was laying in my bunk one night, and it was getting close to my release date. And I was going through a little bit of a depression. And I was seeing these inmates and these guys. They were getting all these huge sacks of commissary and getting calls every day from their loved ones and getting all these letters and cards and all these things. I was getting down on myself, but this was about the time, I've already, spoke on this, but when he told me that he would restore everything that the enemy took. Didn't know what that meant. How do you start your life over, from scratch at 46? I'm 48 now, or 45 is 45 then, whatever it was. How much time do I have left to even build a life? It just didn't make sense to me, when he told me, he's like, I'm going to restore everything to you tenfold. I mean, and you just have faith that I'm going to take care of you. And I knew that he had something planned for me, a purpose. And I knew that he didn't let me walk through all of that for nothing. So for whatever reason, podcast popped into my mind. And I didn't know what that meant at the time. I'd never even watched a podcast. I knew what a podcast was, but I'd never seen one, really listened to it, or paid attention to it. I think at the time it was kind of a new thing, maybe. And I probably heard it on the TV being talked about or something. But everything that the Lord put on my heart in prison, I would jot down. I would jot down all these ideas and all these other things. And there was some restoration with my ex. Not in that way, but the Lord had spoke to her and told her to help me. So she was the only person that I had. And she would put time on the phone when she could. And she would put money on my books when she could. But for the most part, she was in direct communication with me. And she would write me letters, and I would call. And she would give me all these updates on things that were going on with my family and people I still cared about that didn't want nothing to do with me. So that happened. So I got out, I paroled out. Her and her boyfriend were kind enough to let me parole out to their home instead of having me sit and wait on a halfway house, because that could have added a couple of months or whatever to being in prison. So I got out, and a couple months after I got out, I got involved with Celebrate Recovery. So I started going my first visit to Celebrate Recovery. I was automatically hooked. You got to understand, at this point, I was only about a year, just about a year to month sober and clean when I got out of prison. So I did get actively involved in a church when I got out, but I didn't get actively involved in Celebrate Recovery right away. I didn't know much about it. Didn't really think about it. I didn't think I needed anything like that because I'm healed. I'm restored. I'm good. Well, I got invited to go, and I went, and it changed me forever. I'm telling you, from start to finish, everything about Celebrate Recovery I fell in love with. And I knew that I had to be a part of it. And so I'm watching all these, every week I'm going to, and now I'm going to a couple of them a week. I'm trying to find the local ones wherever. And I got involved in all of the local ones. And so I'm seeing and hearing these powerful testimonies. And it hits me. I was like, man, that testimony was so powerful that, it's great that there's 20 people in here to hear that, but we need to get that story out to the world. And then I remembered writing the stuff, jotting all the ideas that the Lord was putting on my heart in prison. And I remembered about the podcast. So I got to asking, just talking about it. I was just talking about it. And, there were some people that were, oh, well, you got to buy all this equipment. You got to have a studio. You got to have this. You got to have that. Man, I was poor. I was broke. I mean, I was barely, I was barely making anything. And but it didn't turn me off to the idea. What I did was I went outside and I lifted my hands up to the Lord and I said, okay, if that's what you want me to do, then you're going to have to do it. You're going to have to make the way for that to happen. I can't do it. I couldn't get clean on my own. You did that. You're a God of miracles. You can do anything you want. So if that's what your will is, and that's what you want me to do, then you're going to have to do it. But I will be obedient and do what you tell me to do. So I started making these connections. And through these connections, I got introduced to the right people, which led me, like I would say, it was like I met Eddie Poole, who had his own ministry or has his own ministry called Night of Hope. And what that is it's recovery events where it's worship nights and they do powerful testimony and all these things. Twice a year he does what's called a recovery fest, and it's a big thing around here. And I'm very actively involved in that. So I remembered that I was very close friends with Clay Edwards, who has a big following in Jackson called The Clay Edwards Show. It's on radio. So I reached out to him to promote that, to draw attention to it. And I talked to him about the podcast idea. And he said, well, I need to introduce you to Danny Anderson. And he did. Danny Anderson had just built his podcast studio. So I went and met with Danny Anderson, who is now my producer. I told him that my idea, and he said, well, let's do it. So he already had the studio. He loved the idea. So God paved that way and made those and sent the right people in my path to make those introductions to make the Black Sheep happen.
So when you were telling God, hey, you got to do this, I'm cool with doing it, he already had things in motion.
Well, the second person was Josh Hollingshead. So I met Eddie Poole introduced me to Josh Hollingshead, who had his own podcast called Unashamed Recovery. And he invited me to do an episode on his podcast on Unashamed Recovery podcast. If anybody would want to go see that, it's you can just Google Unashamed Recovery episode 42, I think it is. But it was a great testimonial podcast, a recovery podcast. And so I saw how he was doing it, but that's the vision that God had given me. And we talked about it. He said, well, you just need this, you need this, you need this. And his was only audio. Well, I saw mine as audio and video. And so I wasn't turned off to just doing audio, but I just knew that that's not what God had laid on my heart. So I got me a little experience seeing how it was done at that point. From there, I got introduced. We started planning for the Fall Recovery Fest. I got introduced to, I reconnected with Clay Edwards, and Clay Edwards introduced me to Danny, who had just built his podcast studio.
I mean, well, what was Danny doing? Was he planning on doing something himself with the podcast studio, or was he looking for somebody?
He was already doing a podcast called Recovery. So a big shout out to Audio Alchemy Productions, because they started Recovery Lab, and they were already several episodes in, and he had a couple of, I think 1 or 2 other clients at the time. So this studio has evolved over the course of 2 years into this beautiful, awesome, state-of-the-art studio. Well, now I pay him. But first he loved the idea so much that he was letting us do episodes for free, and now he's got 21 clients that do all these different podcasts in that studio. So Danny's a very busy man, and he produces all of these podcasts. So he's gotten busy with that. So the next step in the evolution of Black Sheep, we'll ultimately eventually have our own studio. Danny, of course, will still be producing it. He's going to build it for us. We just have to have the funds to do that because it's not cheap, you know. But that way, I'll be able to. I won't have to schedule around 20 other clients. You know, I've got a dedicated slot every Thursday. But there's more I want to do. You know, I mean, I want to do not just testimonials. I want to do devotionals. I want to do lives. I want to do a lot of things I want to do. You know, we're evolving. We're growing.
Where did the name where did the name come from? Like, where did you think of that?
Well, I didn't know what I was going to. Again, it was an idea on a piece of paper. It was just simple word, God's podcast, whatever. So I didn't have a name at first until when I started talking about it in Celebrate Recovery. Then I went and did. So a friend of mine, Kim Harrington, I believe is what it was. She did a devotional at Celebrate Recovery. She did a teaching, whatever, and it was called The Black Sheep, and it was a recovery thing, and she was comparing us to black sheep. So that pricked my heart a little bit. Then I did my podcast with Josh Hollingshead, and I was already thinking about calling it Black Sheep, and he said, you know, I was recently thinking about changing the name, and I might use Black Sheep because of Duck Dynasty's podcast was also called Unashamed. And I said, well, don't do that because I said, please don't do that. He's like, I'm going to keep Unashamed Recovery. And then when the episode was released a couple weeks later, he had titled it The Black Sheep. Then a few weeks later was Easter, and my pastor read a scripture. He did his whole Easter teaching on Isaiah 53, which you see in my logo is Isaiah 53, and I don't want to butcher it, so I'm gonna just give me a second. It's Isaiah 53, the last verse in Isaiah 53 in the English Standard Version, I believe. It's the only translation that it says this. Let me see. Sorry, just give me a moment.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. But Isaiah 53 is literally Isaiah prophesying of the coming of Jesus, but not just that, but it's actually the whole chapter is describing the way he was going to die, right? So the last verse, and I'm wrong about the translation, it just says, therefore I will divide him a portion. I hate that I don't have the right one, so you have to look it up. But it says, therefore I will divide him a portion with the many, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he poured out his soul to death and was numbered with the transgressors, yet he bore the sin of many and made intercession for all the black sheep. So I'd love to, it might be the New Living Translation, but either way, when he said those last two words, it said black sheep, that was just confirmation. And I knew, okay, I get it. You want me to call it the black sheep. But the recovery and the warfare, for obvious reasons, it's a recovery, faith-based recovery podcast. And warfare it's the spiritual warfare that we go through throughout our life, not just during our life and during our addictions, but we also go through the warfare through our recovery. And so that's where the name came from.
Right on. You got a YouTube channel too, obviously.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When I repost this and stuff, I'm gonna attach that link to it too, because I just any way I can support you guys, man. It's incredible what you're doing.
Sure. And
how many?
I'll share yours too.
I appreciate that. How many episodes have you done?
We did our
first one.
We did our 48th episode yesterday.
I saw the last one. Might have been the last one. Jimmy Hunt was on.
Yes,
actually, that kind of blew up a little bit.
Yeah, it did. So Jimmy Hunt is, most of my views on TikTok. I clip out all my shows, and most of my views on TikTok. I've been organically growing my platform the whole time. I've been letting God do it. So, so it's been a slow crawl to get followers and things like that. But But we at the time of the release of that clip, I think we had 6,700 followers on the TikTok. I released a Jimmy Hunt clip, and at that time, the highest viewed clip I had was like a 2% clip. It was like 50,000 or 55,000 views, or I don't know how many likes, or whatever. But within 24 hours, that clip was at 150,000, and then the next day it was at 560,000 views. So that was our first viral video, and that was on TikTok. So it's been exciting. That was a big milestone for me. I've been waiting for that to happen for a long time.
No,
Yeah.
I love how you said it like that, because you've been growing it organically, and for me, that's not like John Gallagher has all those views. It's, or Jimmy Hunt even, or even Black Sheep. It's to get the messages out there, to get the testimonies out there, because that's what was put on your heart. You're like, yeah, 20 people to celebrate recovery, but you obviously had more ambition than that, and I think God gave you that ambition. You wasn't thinking about doing nothing like that in the midst of your addiction.
No.
So it's just another example of being obedient. And
yeah, for me, it wasn't like, okay, even if I never get over 500 views, God is doing this for those 500 people. If it ever broke loose and something went viral and hit 1 million, that's God's. He wanted 1 million people to see that clip.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't utilized TikTok at all. Like, I just, humble beginnings. I just used to be very selfish. When it came to like dealing with people, I would talk to them or help them as long as I could get something out of it somehow, some way. And then, when you get that change of heart and God takes you from being selfish to selfless, I just love hearing other people's stories, man, because they really help me, and they keep kind of solidifying, my recovery and my discovery and my faith in what I want to do. And it's just always good, I think, to like, the only thing I can really do, I mean, I can't earn my way into heaven. I'm saved by grace, but I'm like, I've shared my story, many times. The first year I kind of purged it out with all these live videos. I'm like, I got to hear other people's stories and get them out there, a little bit at a time or whatever like that. So I definitely respect 100% what you're doing. I mean, I met you through, social media and all this stuff. I mean, so, you're somebody I definitely watch and admire to a certain, extent. I'm not, worshiping anything or whatever like that. Not idealistic, but I just like what you do, and I love the stories and the people you have on, for sure. Speaking of, who's if you, you might not answer this, but who's your favorite person you've interviewed or had share their testimony with you?
Well, I'll tell you this. My favorite stories are the real and the raw. And I just thought that I was passionate about things until I started collecting stories and putting them out. I'm very passionate about what I do. God blessed me with a guest. So when I got out of prison, I didn't even know this guy had gotten clean, much less had come to Christ. But one of the first clips that I'd seen when I got my phone, and I think it was on Facebook Reels or something, but I'd seen that Brian Welch from Korn had come to Christ. But it was several years before that, and I had no idea. I was so lost in addiction, I didn't even know he'd done that. But growing up, I was a huge Korn fan. I'm talking about huge. Like, I idolized these people. They were gods to me. They were, legends. And so obviously when I saw this reel, I knew, I was like, it blew me away. It just blew my mind. This guy had everything, but he had nothing, And so as I'm watching this clip, later on, I mean, I'd go back and, I kept up with Brian, like on his other clips and stuff like that. But when I started thinking about the podcast, God literally, I mean, inside of me told me, he's like, you're going to have Brian Welch in your studio. You're going to have Head in your studio. You're going to interview him. He's going to be on your podcast. And, my buddy, Brad Hancock, he shot an email to him. Never got anything. Well, we got something back one time, but it didn't pan out or whatever, and we just kind of put it on the wayside. And then out of the blue, several months later, he got an email from him, and asked, said Brian was watching what we were doing. He loved what we were about, and reached out and wanted to do it. And so that it was just a gift. But I had the privilege and the honor to get to interview somebody that had a huge impact on my life, not just in my darkness, but now has a huge impact on just my life, but millions of other people's lives, man. Matter of fact, I got an email from him yesterday.
Oh,
Yeah, I got an email from him yesterday. Oh, we email back and forth just here and there. I just it's not very often. He's just celebrated a birthday and wishing him a happy birthday, telling him I love him. Keep moving forward. He sent me one back. He's like, I'm in Spain. I've been in Spain for about a month, and I'll be in Portugal next week. And I'm like, that's awesome.
I mean,
So yeah, it's gonna be things. But you asked me who my favorite guest was, and that would be the obvious answer.
yeah.
I did love interviewing Brian Head Welch. That was great. But if I had to pick my favorite episode so far, it would probably definitely be Ricky Blackwell's, man. Definitely have to be Ricky Blackwell's. That is one of the most powerful stories I've ever heard. All of them are powerful in their own right, and they're all of my. It's so hard for me to,
I know it was a tough question.
It's so hard for me to pick one, but if I had to pick one, I think it would have to be Ricky Blackwell's episode.
Is that
so if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, go to the YouTube channel and go watch that episode. I'm not going to give anything away. But yeah, it's a very powerful story.
You said that's Ricky Blackwell?
Yeah. RIKKIBLACK.
Okay.
LL.
I mean, the name's not familiar with me, but I mean, since you said that's your favorite and that's a powerful testimony, I'm gonna have to check that out and get to know who that is.
Yeah,
I'd like to see that. I mean, so I mean, that's pretty cool. Like, one of your favorites, band. Yeah, I grew up on Korn. I love Korn. Deb is a huge, Korn fan. I mean, they go back some years, and we watched his documentary years ago. It was on Showtime. We downloaded or whatever it was, uploaded Showtime just to watch this documentary that was on there. I can't remember the actual name of it, but it was so powerful, and they were so legendary. And at the time, this was maybe 2016, 17. Devil correct me, but I hadn't heard of any like rock star metal anybody coming to Christ and being open about it and sharing about it. It was either like behind the music, prison arrests, OD, or they died mostly. But for him to come out being as big as he was, he's a big star. I think it's really opened the floodgates for a lot of other, bands and members of bands to like kind of follow suit. I've seen a revival in the last few years of people that I never thought, would have these, coming to Christ moments, being baptized, like Russell Brand, Kat Von D, but just people that have lived the complete opposite lifestyles. And there's so many more. I can't even think of them, but I'm like, man, they must know something. So I like seeing that. And, he's definitely one of my favorites too. I love that band.
I've seen something since I came out of it about almost 4.5 years ago. In the recovery community, there is a huge awakening, and it's all, and all of these stories that I'm hearing almost always involve Christ, and so it's almost like there's something brewing, there's something coming.
Yeah,
can't predict what it is, but all of these people that are coming out of the darkness, and the only way I can describe the feeling from it is that we've been lost in the darkness. And so we know the darkness, and we know all the devil's tricks, his traps, his snares. We know all his lies. And I believe that he's plucking people like you and people like me and people like Boston 2% and people like Ricky Blackwell and Monica Weber I could go on, and Kosha and Kayla, and I could go on. I could just name more and more people that he's
Brilliant.
plucking. He's plucking them out of the darkness because A, they're already trained in the darkness,
Yep.
and B, he knows that we can use what we know of the darkness against it to pull people out of the darkness. And that's how
Yeah.
I can really describe it. It's like the veil was removed from our eyes, the scales fell off, and we were shown things in that darkness that we'll never be able to forget. And when you take somebody like Trav Ingram or John Gallagher or Boston 2% or Ricky Blackwell, and then you put them face to face with somebody that's in that lost in the darkness, and you know where they're at, and you can literally sympathize with them and look at them in the eyes and tell them, I know where you are right now, and there's only one way out, and that's Jesus, and he's wanting, do you wish to be healed? Come with me, I'll take you to a guy. You know?
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I'd have to absolutely agree with you. I mean, I felt like, especially with, addicts, like, how can you properly talk about the light if you've never really lived in, that much darkness? And I mean, everybody's got some kind of, troubled past and stuff like that. But I mean, surviving dozens and dozens of overdoses and living that in complete darkness. I even look at like addiction as going even further than a disease. I mean, it's a diseasement, but like, I feel like it's when you're that deep into it, I mean, the devil just owns everything about you. Like, yeah, you're not existing without the devil leading you everywhere around. And to come out of that for Jesus to step in, and I mean, I wasn't going to pull myself out of where I was. And everybody's addictions are, deeper than others and whatever. But once you know that you've kind of lost that control over what you do, that's a scary moment, man. And we cannot save ourselves. We can't bring ourselves back to sanity. Like I truly believe that. I tried several times, but I believe that this recovery, former addicts community is maybe the last great revival this world may see. I just truly do. And I know that sounds almost kind of facetious to say, but I kind of live it every day. I mean, I do. I mean, with the blessings that God brings to me with meeting people like you and having a better relationship with my wife after 12 years when she was this close to, calling it quits. It's just nothing I could have done on my own. And it's just incredible. Let me share this with you right quick. I got a few more questions. We'll probably get out of here. We're at an hour and a half. This has been awesome, John. I appreciate this so much. I just got to share this with you. I'm not ashamed to share this. It sounds like maybe kind of a lame story or something. I don't know. But since you said this, that when you interviewed Brian Head Welch and stuff like that, and God put all this on your heart and said you would have him in your studio to interview him and everything. I mean, you had to be like, okay, cool, let's go. I very early on, I've done probably maybe 90 to 100 of these on the spot since I started in like February 24. Just ask people to come on, just use my phone or tablet, and here we go. I started listening to ASAP Preach's music early on. Saw a documentary he did. Blake Martin was kind of involved in that. He went back to his hometown, and it was really good. I became somewhat of a fan of his music and just kind of started listening to like Christian hip hop. That's all I've been listening to for a while. I'm 48. Like I couldn't do this on my own. I was just moved to. But early on, I'd say around maybe the 15th or 16th on the spot that I've done, I got this thought, whatever you want to call it, that I would interview ASAP eventually. I don't want to put out his real name, but we both know his real name, and I'm like, wow, okay, that's cool. I'm not the biggest fan. I'm, it's not like Brian, Welch from Korn, but I'm like, okay, cool. I mentioned it to my wife a few times and she's like, okay, yeah, I know. And I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like I believe that that's going to happen. I've reached out to him a couple times and he don't know me, and I understand that. And then God's timing, like you said, when we try to do stuff, it doesn't work, but I leave the door open for that. But I've been honest about sharing that. I'm like, I don't know what this represents or whatever, but I just get the feeling that will happen eventually. And when that does, that might open up some other doors that God wants me to walk through. And all I know is that I'm willing, ready, and able. I tell God all the time, I don't know what you got for me. There might be storms I got to walk through, blessings. They're all the same to me because I was throwing my life away. So I'm not scared at all to walk through a storm. I know He's already made a way. But there's something about that I got to keep pursuing that to some degree. And, you know, I believe it to happen because everything else God's shown me and told me has come to fruition in time. Nothing has been like by the second, but I'm like, okay, because I'm not walking around thinking of stuff like that. I get the nod to ask people, and I say maybe 5 people have said no or no response out of like 100 and some. So I just wanted to share that with you because you said something similar, and it's nothing that I thought of my own. And I just wanted to share that and get your thoughts on that. To keep pursuing it, let it go.
No, listen, let me tell you something, Trav. If God has laid something on your heart, then you just go ahead and believe in and thank Him for going ahead and making that happen. If God's put something on your heart, you pursue it. Don't give up. But just be in prayer about it. Be obedient and trust Him. And Isaiah 60:22 says, I think it's Isaiah 60:20. I'm probably wrong about that address, but what it says is, I say it the Lord, but when the time is right, I will make it happen. And that's all in God's perfect timing. Our timing sucks. Our timing is terrible.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I don't know if this means anything or whatever. ASAP, I don't talk to him all the time. But we'll see. Yeah.
I mean, I believe it. It's happened a few other times. I've reached out to him and, I've messaged him at his real name. I'm not trying to put that out there right now, but, yeah, and I haven't got no response or nothing like that, but I'm not expecting one. I'm like, okay, I'll keep trying. I'm being obedient. He's not my favorite CHH artist. Like, when we do sit down, I mean, I like them a whole lot, but like Tyson James, Bryson Gray, D-Cure, Curtis Hoppy, I mean, they're all like really my favorites. I love a lot of ASAP's music, but it's not, I'm not doing it because he's my favorite or I'm a fanboy or something like that. I'm just like, bro, God told me to do it. What do you want me to do?
If he's watching this ASAP, he is definitely his favorite. I promise you.
Oh, I should say that. Okay, well, that's probably the funniest thing that's happened to me. Like on this journey, I'm like, I've told a few other people they're like, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I've been like Michael Jordan, my favorite. Anyway, but I just wanted to share that with you at the risk of embarrassment. But when it happens, there won't be any embarrassment because I know it's going to be an awesome interview. And there's one thing I want to talk about with him in particular, but in God's timing.
Let me tell you something. If you interview ASAP Preach, you just make sure you tell him on air that you think that, in your opinion, that John Gallagher is humbler than he ever will be.
Okay, I'll make sure. I gotta write that down.
You make sure you tell him that.
Well, will he just laugh or agree with me?
We shall see.
Oh man. I gotta let me do some I got 2 more that I got some like rapid fire 1-word answer questions. This has been awesome, man. Why is God centered in your life?
Because He's the only thing that matters in my life. That's more than 1 word. Sorry. Because I'll tell you. Okay, 1 word. Everything.
I like that. Let's see. What all do you hope well, this isn't a 1-word answer, but what all do you hope to accomplish with the rest of your years that God affords you? I know you got some other ideas and ambitions with this, Black Sheep.
Well, I'd love to finish the book. I'd love to. I've never been married. I'd like to be married. With Black Sheep, I just want to pull as many people out of the darkness as I possibly can. I get a little, it's a little frustrating on this journey. I do get to see some of the fruit, but privately, outside of Black Sheep, I've had a lot of people locally reach out to me to go into a program, and in all that time, I haven't had 1 person complete.
Wow, yeah.
Not one. But I received messages from all over the country from people that saw this clip or saw this episode and it changed them forever. So, I mean, I get a lot of, but, I want to pull as many people out of the darkness as I possibly can and make heaven crowded. I want to take as many people to heaven with me as I possibly can. Yeah.
There's one thing my wife keeps reminding me of, because I feel that sometimes too. I'll feel like I hear somebody share like a thing they're going through, a certain struggle, and I just feel like I received the right thing to tell them to like implement this like right now into your life, and it'll change you. And it doesn't happen, or they just like, oh yeah, thanks, and just keep on with it, struggling. I'm like, why won't they just listen and do this? And I mean, I don't know how else to like make that sound, but Deb, she's like, well, you just plant the seeds, and after that, it's between that person and God. Like, you're just being obedient. You can't plant the seed and then try to like flood the field and do all this other work. I'm like, yeah, that's tough for me, because I get emotionally invested in quite a few people, and I'm just like, man, come on, have that breakthrough like you're supposed to have. But I'm getting better at just giving that patience up to God and be like, look, I said what I had to say, and I'm there for them, but it's going to be between them and you and in your time. Oh, yeah.
Somebody just woke up from a nap.
Uh-oh. Beautiful, beautiful. Let me get a couple more. What's some areas in which you're still working on? Like, what's some you got any character defects or flaws, that you're kind of convicted on getting rid of?
Yes. Character defects. Well, yeah, I mean, 1,000 character defects. One thing that stands out the most, I think, is my pride. I get a little prideful sometimes. God worked on patience. It took a lot. He had to work on me with patience, like a lot. I think the big one though it would have to be lust. Yeah. Again, I'm not married. I've never been married. He's working on me on that, and we're fighting that battle. I have somebody that's very important to me in my life that's helping me through, helping me with that. But it's just a process, and you have to trust it. When he healed me and he took everything, they talk about that thorn, that Paul had. Nobody knows what that thorn was, but, that might be my big thorn. And, it's just a daily fight, so, just the lustful thoughts, the intrusive thoughts, when that kind of thing,
I appreciate you sharing that. I mean, we've all got something, man. It's a sanctification process, and that sanctification, I believe, is going to, progress right up until our last day. And, that's what that grace is all about. God loves us, regardless of that. Now, if you were like actively trying to like, contribute and, that lust or that certain sin, then that's different. But
yeah,
there's many different things that I've been convicted on removing. I mean, it's still an everyday battle, but I'm still new to this too, and I know which way I'm going. So even when I fail, I'm gonna just try to go forward with it and give this up. Cigarettes, something I've been, giving up, and that's kind of been a while. And cussing bothers me, but I still cuss. And I'm not perfect, but man, I don't really try to be. I just want to just push forward and trust God with that process. So,
yeah. Vaping is another one. You'll see me lean over here every now and then.
Yeah. But see, I think all that will go away in time, like if you want to, because the conviction won't go away either, and you're supposed to hate the sin and all that. But, all right, here's the lightning round. I got 4 quick questions for you. And then I'm going to ask you to like just, last words or advice for the viewers, and then ask you to pray. I forgot to pray us in, which I know Deb's going to remind me of herself, or would if I didn't just remember it. But 4 quick lightning round, 1-word questions, some encouraging words or whatever for the viewers, and pray us out if you would. So here we go. What's your best quality? 1 word.
Wow. Put me on the spot like this, man.
That's calling on the spot, John.
I guess my best quality is I'll just about do anything for anybody. I mean, not people pleasing, but I want to make sure that if there's a need that if I can feel it, I feel it.
I like that.
Yeah.
Passion filled. Besides God, who's your favorite person?
I can't answer
You can say your dog.
I'll answer it. Kosher. He's my favorite person. Yes.
Yeah. What word would sum up your life up to this point?
Roller coaster.
Wow. All right. Last one.
A lot of ups and you got a lot of downs, and I mean,
It's a compound word. It counts as one. That's good.
Yeah.
Last question. One word. How are my interview skills?
Amazing. Actually, I was going to compliment you on that because mine are terrible, bro. Like, if it's not for Monica, if it wasn't for Monica and the Holy Spirit, man, I'm just terrible at it. Desperately,
I should have called them my skills. It's what God. I mean, if it's good, it's what God gives me.
You were so good at it, bro. Like I totally have some envy in that for you because you have been rocking this interview, bro. I think I'm better at getting interviewed than giving an interview, or interviewing. But here's what I'm trouble with, like, so I a lot when I'm nervous. Man. So you outclass me in interview skills by a long shot.
The PayPal send will be sent right after this interview. No, I appreciate you saying that.
Right.
That's all I got. You're off the spot. Bro, thank you so much. Any last words you want to say to our viewers, listeners, to the people that follow you guys on Black Sheep Recovery Warfare, and
Sure.
And then pray us out if you would, man.
Yeah, I've got something prepared. Just for this. There's a scripture that had been on my mind recently. It's Acts 26:18, and it's one of my favorite scriptures. And it's where Jesus tells Paul that he is sending him to open their eyes so that they may turn from darkness to light and from the power of Satan to God, so that they may receive forgiveness of sins and a place among those who are sanctified by faith in me. To me, that's what recovery ministry is all about. It's about helping people open their eyes, coming out of the darkness of addiction, shame, and hopelessness, and stepping into the light of God's truth, freedom, and purpose. Jesus says he wants them to turn from the power of Satan to God, meaning he wants to rescue people from whatever has them bound and bring them into his kingdom where they're forgiven, restored, and given a place among his people. And that hits home for me because I spent decades trapped in addiction, feeling like I had no place, and now I get to help others find theirs. So when I go out and speak, or when we do the Black Sheep Recovery Warfare podcast, that's our heart, to open their eyes to the fact that no matter what they've done, there is forgiveness and there's freedom and a place for them in God's family through Jesus. And so I wanted to leave y'all with that, Acts 26:18. Also, if you're interested in getting connected with the Black Sheep Warfare, we have a website. It's blacksheeprecoverywarfare.org. You can order these awesome t-shirts there to help support the ministry. If you feel led to, you can donate. Every dollar helps, to help pay for production and new equipment toward our new studio if we ever get whatever. It also helps us with our recovery events that we have coming up, and we've got a few coming up. The fundraising. So also it has our link tree. You can get connected to all of our social medias, our YouTube channel. It's not hard to find. You can just Google, just go to YouTube and type in Black Sheep Recovery Warfare Podcast. Please hit that subscribe button. We are almost at 1,000. Last time I checked, we were at 980 subscribers. The TikTok is on the link tree from the website. You can get to the TikTok. I have an Instagram, don't use it that much. Don't really care for it. And the Facebook channel. You can, the Facebook, you can just type in John Gallagher, look for me, black and white photo, or the Black Sheep. There's a separate page, Black Sheep Recovery Warfare Facebook page. So that's how you can get connected with us. That's it.
Yeah, I'll continue the help, plug you guys, promote you guys, whatever. I mean, any groups like, that I think are just really in it for the right reasons. There's some recovery groups, I ain't going to say too much, that I just kind of don't have a good feeling with. But, I think God's leading me to the ones that are, in it with their whole heart. And, I appreciate that, and the discernment that comes along with that. I think you're good people. Like I mentioned, Blake Spradlin from Trapped in the Attic. That's another guy that, I just want to grow with people. I didn't have brothers or sisters growing up, and it's just like God's given me way more than I even had to destroy, because I was just destroying the life I was afforded without him. So it's just a pleasure to get to know you. I know you're busy, but I'll try to stay in contact. I'm still looking for the Black Sheep shirts in the mail. We're supposed to trade for a couple GBR shirts. Good Lord. I hope God puts it on your heart to send those.
And I will. I promise, Trav. I will.
I keep asking me because she loves that shirt. She loves the design. She said she never seen a Black Sheep look so badass.
Listen, it's coming when I get to. You got to understand, the people are just now coming into Black Sheep, helping me do all this.
No, I know. I'm giving you a hard time. When the time's right, we'll get.
We're getting very organized, and I'm doing the best I can. But I promise you, you got some.
All good. I was just giving you. I was reminding you and giving you heck at the same time, man. I love you regardless.
Yeah.
This has been awesome. I'm glad we had that conversation earlier. I wrote the questions out pretty quick. I just sat down and they kind of tuned in, and hopefully they were all decent for you, and hopefully you enjoyed this testimony.
Yeah, this has really been my favorite interview I've ever done. I've enjoyed it.
Clip that. Man, yeah. I appreciate it. I've been after it for a while. I wouldn't let you go. I wouldn't give up. I'm like, man. But well, like you said, I agree with you 100%. You just keep after it, and when God lines that up with both people, or whatever else, it's usually the best, instead of just us trying to do things and making it all our intentions and efforts. But so I knew it was going to be awesome today. Blessed to sit with you. I hope that GBR family and all the listeners really got a lot out of this, man. And I just asked you to pray us out, if you would, John. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you. Thank you for this day, Father. Thank you for this opportunity to share the testimony. Thank you for this opportunity to pull people to you, Father, from the darkness to the light, Father. I thank you for Trav Ingram and God-Based Recovery and everybody that follows him and watches him. I pray that you grow his platform, Father. I pray that you grow it beyond abundantly and beyond what he can possibly imagine, Father. I know that he's got a gift, Father, and he's utilizing it, and that you gave him this gift, Father. And I just pray that you just grow this platform, Father. I pray that all that the eyes and ears that watched God-Based Recovery, Father, that hearts are pricked, Father, and that people are led to you. And not just into recovery, but ultimately that are led to you, Father. And I just pray that you continue using this ministry in a mighty, mighty, mighty way, Father. And I just, I just pray a blessing over, a triple blessing over Trav and his wife, Father. And I just love everything that they're doing. And I know that they're doing it for your glory, Father. And it's just apparent. You've given him so many gifts, Father, and he's utilizing them, Father. I'm so happy for him, Father. And I hope, and I just pray that you can bring us back together again soon. We can do this more often. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, in Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Yeah.
Amen. Man, this has been awesome. One of my favorites too, for sure, man. I hope to keep in contact with you. I can send you a message now and then, even just to say, hey, I know you're busy, just thinking of you, hoping you're having a good day. Anything I can help you out with, man, anything, you want to talk about, collaborate on, possibly, just hit me up. You got my number, you know where to find me. I'm already in, so you just let me know.
Awesome. I'd love to get involved with stuff that you and old Spradlin's got going on. I need to get in there, and I'm might be fixing to start teaching some of that crap in the attic at a local recovery thing. I'm, if I can squeeze it in there.
Awesome.
Got an amazing curriculum, so I want to plug him. Trapped in the Attic. They are A-okay. I love you, buddy.
I think he was watching earlier, so I appreciate you, man. I really do, and I'm humbled and inspired, and motivated all at the same time. John Gallagher, everybody, from Black Sheep Recovery Warfare Podcast. Go to that YouTube channel, go to that page. Help them get 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. They deserve it. There's a bunch of junk on YouTube. Black Sheep Recovery Warfare is not. It's the opposite. It's a little gym. So, John, appreciate you, brother. And that's it. You're off the spot. You made it.
Thanks, brother. Peace be with y'all. Thank you.
God bless. Thanks, everybody.